Welcome to Wax Talk. Listen to conversations revolving around the business of waxing and the beauty industry. Business advice, technical tips, and honest talk answering questions no one has dared to ask. As a thank you for listening, use promo code PRPodcast30 when you shop at Cerapill.com. Additional terms and conditions may apply. Hi, welcome to Wax Talk by Perron Rigot. I am Callie Van Elst, and today we have Jamie Playa with us. She is the salon owner of Esthetique Spa and has been an educator for nearly 20 years. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Callie. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Again, yeah, I was just going to say, so for anyone who's listening that already listened to the episode called Hot Topics, you'll know that Jamie was on there and we had a huge response and people had so many questions and topics they wanted us to talk about. So now we're doing part 2. So first question that we have is, why did the skin on my client's eyebrow lift?
That's a good question.
You know what we should do, though, before we answer that question? Because I know there's going to be a lot of people listening to this call or this podcast that might not even know like what that means. Because like I just assume people know what it means like when a client's skin lifts. So maybe we should first tell them what that is.
Skin lifting on any part of the body is due to many things, which we're actually going to go over because I think that is important. But it's a thin layer. It could even be a superficial layer of skin that comes off. And it can be a little bit deeper if there are any kind of medicines or creams involved or that were put on the skin before the waxing.
Yeah. So like contraindications, like clients might be using certain ingredients that thin the skin. That's almost always the reason. Like almost always.
The reason. Yeah. And not telling your esthetician what you're using. Most common ingredient I would think would be a retinol, a Retin-A, prescription Retin-A. It can go down from over the counter to prescription. That can cause skin lifting.
So almost always, I feel like a client's skin has lifted because it's something that the client has been using on their skin usually it's like within like the last couple of weeks.
Yes, even a couple days.
Yeah, even a couple days, like within that period of time. And then I feel like it's usually like retinol. Even like your acids, though, like your exfoliating acids.
A lot of glycolic acid people use, salicylic acid. That can also be a contraindication to waxing. So that can lead to skin lifting.
Yeah. And what you said. So like if it's so let's say they're using retinol, right? And the retinols are different because they're different strengths depending on where you get it. So I always say I always ask the client if they say, oh yeah, I'm using like something with retinol. I'm like, well, where did you get it from? Like who makes it? Because if they got it from like Target, that's different than if they got it from their esthetician, which is also different than if they got it from their doctor. Yeah.
Correct.
Or even from like a med spa.
I'm even a little weary of some of the over-the-counter retinols are a little bit stronger now.
I know.
Something at Sephora.
Yeah. Can be really strong.
Can be really strong now, where it used to not have been.
I know. Like when I started in this industry, you couldn't get any of the like stronger ingredients over the counter. Nothing. You couldn't even get like retinol at all. You had to get a prescription. So now it's scary. Yeah. And so I think estheticians are always like, well, my client, they always feel like their client is withholding information from them because they want to get waxed. Certainly that happens.
It's so true. It happens to the best of us. They just want to get waxed for their party or for their event that they have that weekend. So they're going to lie.
I do think it happens. But I think a lot of times, though, too, I don't even think they know what they're using, really.
That's why I ask brand names.
Sometimes, you know what, a lot of times, if I can tell, okay, here's how you can tell. So for those of you who might be newer, like to waxing, you'll learn with experience what a client's skin looks like if they've been using like a really strong like Retin-A, retinol, anything really, or even if they just had like a chemical peel, because the skin has this like sheen to it, right? It's not oil. It's like this thin sheen to it. And when you see that, it is the red flag of like they're using something. I mean, usually I can see it when before I've even analyzed their skin. Like as soon as they walk in the room, I'm like, uh-oh, here we go.
What have you been using? Yeah.
What have you been using? So if you have that trained eye where you can see that and they say they're not using something, that's the time to get more information, I always say, because obviously they're using something, they're saying they're not. So I'll be like, I need screenshots. Like I need pictures of your ingredients or like the name. Or you know what else I do, which is really helpful if the client doesn't know, is I use words that the client can understand more, because sometimes they may not know what like glycolic acid is, or but if we say, are you using a product for acne or like for brightening or lightening, or like, I don't like the word anti-aging, I like age preservation, I'm trying to change it, but like if you say something like that, I think that they might be like, oh
with? Yeah,
right. Or like, are you using something to brighten or lighten your skin? And I think like sometimes they'll be like, oh yeah, I just got this new serum or whatever. So it doesn't mean they can't get waxed. It just means they have to stop using it for a while before they get waxed. And it could be 2 days, it could be 5 days or 7, depending on, right?
Product.
Do you think?
Yeah, better safe
like
than
how long?
sorry. I'm a 3 to 5 days. 3 days for over the counter. I go 5 days for a prescription.
Yeah.
5 days off. Is that what you do, or do you go longer? You go 7 days?
It depends. It depends on the product. It depends on the product, but it also depends on the skin. So I feel like sometimes like a really thin skin person, I'll add a day. One of those like thicker, coarse skin, sometimes they're fine.
So for,
some
let's
clients,
say a new esthetician, what would you tell them? Prescription retin-A. Are they off for how many days?
I go 7+ days.
You go 7+.
At least 7.
Before and after their wax.
I honestly like I only do before.
You do before.
Mm-hmm. Do you only do before?
I do before and after.
Well, here's my theory behind it. And if anyone is listening, especially if you're like from a Medi Spa and if this is wrong, please message on one of the platforms here. But I feel like, and this is very counterintuitive, I know, but it works. It works. And it's my secret trick. So like, let's say you have a client, right? And after they get waxed on like almost always for some people, their upper lip or above their eyebrows might like break out. And when I say break out, I mean like a day or 2 later, they might get like little bumps, right? Like little white, sometimes little red bumps. And for those people, what they really need is exfoliation. So what I feel like, so let's say this. Salicylic acid, right? They're using a strong serum for acne with salicylic acid. It's a contraindication. Okay, so they've stopped using it for, let's say, 5 days. I wax them. Everything's great. I tell them to go back to their acid that day because I feel like it's going to prevent the breakout.
Mm-hmm.
Which it does.
Yeah, it does. I'm okay with salicylic acid, but prescriptions are the ones that I
So how long do you think? 48 hours? They don't have to go 7 days after, do you think?
I do. So like, let's say I'm just going to use prescription retin-A again, like tretinoin.
Okay.
I do 5 days before, 5 days after. 5 days
because it
after,
is strong.
They can't put, let's say they got the eyebrow wax, they can't put it on that area, but they can put it everywhere else. Even though I know it spreads a little bit, just try to avoid that area. Because sometimes a little bit of
You're probably right.
Superficial skin can be removed. I'm always one that I'm better safe than sorry, so I just
100%. Yeah. So if you're new and you're listening, or you're a new waxer or you're a student, and the client is using a prescription, I say any kind of acne any prescription that is topical on the face, then they're going to obviously discontinue it before they get waxed. And then also, what do you say, like 48 hours after?
I still do the 5 days just
Still
because
the 5 days.
Not on the area, but you can do it everywhere
Around.
else
Okay.
after.
I think that's a really good rule. I'm going to start going by
Well,
that.
this is the reason why. If something does happen, if someone does have a reaction, my name is on that. And so if they're walking around with any kind of irritated skin and people are going to ask what happens, I just got waxed at Esthetique and Jamie did that.
True story.
So I just say 5 days off. If they want to use it before, that's up to them. Because you know they're going to.
Right, totally. But for me, anyone like topical over the counter, I'll be a little bit more forgiving depending on their skin type, and I'll do a test strip. I'll be very careful. But a prescription, I'm always like, it's usually a hard no for me if they haven't stopped taking it or using it.
Because most likely skin will lift. I mean, you're playing Russian roulette. It may not, but it most likely will.
It's all like I venture to guess it's 99% of the reason why skin lifts. But here's what happens. Estheticians don't know that that's what happened, or they don't handle it properly. They don't say anything.
Right.
And then the client is mad because they have like, what they think is like a burn. And then they go to a different esthetician and they're like, the last time I got waxed, she burned me. It's what they always say.
We should talk about, especially for new estheticians, because I feel like seasoned estheticians know this, the difference between a burn and a lift.
Tell us, what is it?
I find when you lift the skin, it is almost, it's very shiny at first. You'll notice the skin is super shiny. It's a very thin layer that comes off. And it's, it's very, it has a very irregular pattern to it. There's no rhyme or reason to this pattern. Where I feel like a burn is going to go a little bit deeper. It's going to look more like a burn. It's most likely going to be the entire area that you just waxed. Where I feel like lifting isn't always in that. If you did, let's say, a full lip, it's not going to be this whole area necessarily, where a burn will cover that entire.
And honestly, okay, and it depends. Okay, because I'm the training director for Cerapil. It's different because Cerapil is a low temperature wax, right?
Yes.
It doesn't get that hot. I mean, unless you use like a different heater or a high temperature heater, but honestly, like wax doesn't get that hot to burn someone.
Unless you turn up your pot to where it's like liquid lava, then yes.
Especially if you're using
too hot.
a high temperature heater. Like our heater's so low temperature. I mean, it'll be hot on the highest, but
Not
even
burn.
if I had it won't burn me. It'll feel hot, but it won't burn me even on the highest temperature. But also how I mean, obviously from looking at it, from what you just described, if the skin lifted or if it's a burn. But also when the skin lifts, when you always check the temperature with the client, like, oh, does it feel too hot? And they always say no. Like the wax should only feel like a degree or two above body temperature.
Right.
So if they're like, yeah, it feels great, like it doesn't feel hot at all, and then and then you remove the wax, and then there's like that line or like the shiny part.
It's shiny.
Yeah, it's always
shiny.
Yeah, and I feel like it's just, and it will happen to everyone. Like it's going to happen.
It's going to happen to everyone. You're going to experience this at some point in your life.
It's going to happen.
What do you do if it happens? What's your protocol when it has happened before?
When it has happened before? Well, it depends on if it happened to the Callie that was like 25 years old or the Callie that was 45 years old. So when I was super young.
What should a new esthetician do who's 23 right out of school?
First, I'm going to tell you what they shouldn't do, and then I'm going to tell you what they should do. What I did for the first few times, oh my God, I worked for this huge, like big name, like, salon in Chicago, right? Great reputation, great place. But I, when it would happen, I think I would just be scared, right? Because you're like, oh, you don't know what to do. You're scared, you're panicking, you're terrified, you feel awful, right? Because nobody wants to.
Bad.
Like, so I would thank them profusely and get them out as quick as possible. And then I swear to God, I wouldn't sleep for like 3 nights. And I would be like awake in the middle of the night staring at the ceiling like, oh my God, what if they call? Did they call? Are they going to call? Like, did anyone call? Then I go to work. Did anyone
did you
call?
charge them? You charged them?
I don't recall. Because
so
I don't think you're
nothing happened.
I pretended like nothing happened, and you're never supposed to like, apparently you're never supposed to like apologize, right? So I just like ignored the whole situation. But
out of sight,
now, right. But now because I know more and I've learned more, and I've been an educator for many, many years and have had a lot of experience with all kinds of things, what you should do is like, you don't, I mean, this is what I do and what I think you should do, but then you tell me what you do. I don't think that you should panic. Here's my thing. If you make it a big deal, then they think it's a really big deal, right? So there's no need to panic. Like, I always say, okay, so once I see it and I know it's lifted, what I don't do is apply more wax anywhere. I see pictures of people on like Facebook groups and other places where a client will post a picture like that they had a face wax and there's like burns everywhere. Like
strips
or not burns. I mean, skin lifted everywhere. And I'm like, if you lifted skin, don't apply any more wax.
Well, I think some people apply
everything,
maybe 4 strips, and then they remove, and so that's where you get into trouble.
Right, and that's why you should do one. Like, first do your first piece and make sure. Like, even with the eyebrows, like I used to put on 4 pieces at once, 2 underneath, 2 on top, off, and I don't do that anymore. Because I want to do 1 piece and make sure. Well, anyway, so as soon as I see the skin looks shiny, I know I've lifted, and it's always, now for those of you listening and you can't see the video, I'm pointing to like the very corner of my eye, close to my nose, under the eyebrow. It's the thinnest skin on the body. That's probably where it's lifted, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as I see that, I say to the client, because we know we've already gone over like our contraindications and she signed a waiver, which we can talk about, but I'll say to her, assuming it's to her, I'll say, okay, now I know we talked about you're not using any of these ingredients on your skin, but let's review it again because your skin looks a little sensitive. And I think that there might be an ingredient you're using that's thinning your skin that, you know, it's fine. I always say, and then they feel like you're attacking like their products. And then I say, no, and these ingredients are great for your skin. That's fine. But they just aren't compatible with waxing before waxing for a few days or so. So let's just talk about it again because it's not exactly what I want to see, and I don't want to see it in the future.
Right.
And then I say, but it's fine. Like just this teeny tiny little spot might just feel a little bit sunburn for a day. It might get a little flaky. No big deal. Now, if you have lifted their skin more aggressively, it could scab.
Yes.
And that is not what you want. So if you see that it's deeper and you're fearful, you could say, it's possible, but just, I always say, I've heard if people use like a little Neosporin or antibiotic ointment, it helps it to heal quicker. And I just say I've heard because we're not really allowed to like prescribe, like a medication, even over the counter. Right. So I say I've heard that this works great. Right. So that's what I do and then I say, let me know, if you have any concerns. I will still charge them though, because I didn't do anything wrong. I've checked for me, like unless they're upset, like anytime a client is upset, well, yeah, then I'm not going to charge you today. You're not happy. But if they're like not affected and they're like, oh, it's fine, no big deal. Oh my God, I just realized I used a retinol eye cream last night. I totally forgot to mention it on the form. Okay, well, just make sure you don't use it next time. Everything will be fine. No big deal. It's usually not a big deal. But
Yeah.
so what do you do?
Kind of the same thing. I let them know the skin has lifted. I do go over their regimen again because especially if it's someone that I've waxed for a really long time.
Right.
I did have a client that I've waxed for years. A little piece on the side of the lip came off. We couldn't figure it out. Everything was the same. We went into medications. It was something with her medicines that had been out that she didn't tell me about. But I don't charge because I feel like if I didn't really do the service, I don't charge.
True.
But you got to figure out what works for your business. If you want to charge or don't, you got to figure that out.
Yeah. And the bottom line for me is that they have to leave happy. So if that means you don't charge them, then you don't charge them. It's like, you just got to decide. That's
kind of a personal decision. There's no right or wrong. You just have to figure out what works for you.
Yeah, and especially if you have your own business and you have that freedom. Sometimes you don't have that freedom if you work for someone even. While we're on that topic, before we move on to a different topic. Okay, so first off, I want to talk about really quick because we're talking about it, like consent forms and like consultation. How do you feel?
I don't think people realize how important that is. Every client, every time, even if they come every day, has got to sign a consent form, and that at my business includes a consultation form. Because if something does go wrong, if you do burn a client with severe burn, they can sue you.
Yeah.
That can destroy your business. It is so important.
And your reputation. You can lose your license. I mean, it's a whole thing.
It snowballs. So I don't think people realize. And you can get consent forms online. You can get consent forms through your attorney or through maybe a skincare line that you use. So they're everywhere. But I don't think in the classes I teach, I really try and reiterate how important it is.
Yeah, because
it's your name and business.
And there's so many contraindications, especially to waxing. Ingredients that clients are using at home, so anything that thins the skin, medications,
steroids,
which topical and oral, cortisones.
Creams will thin the skin.
Even diseases like diabetes, lupus, heart disease sometimes, especially if they're using like a blood thinner. Blood thinner is a contraindication.
And with lupus, it may or may not be thin, but it can thin.
You're right. And that's the thing with contraindications and why you need the consultation, because so many times it's a gray area that needs a conversation.
Not everybody's open to just saying, I have this disease, but if they write it down and you read it, it's a little bit more discreet.
True.
And just coming out and saying, I have this disease,
Exactly. And then of course, like herpes, like even if it's like oral, like on your face, or like for Brazilian, it's something.
Yeah, cold sore on the lip. It's not, exactly. It's a contraindication to waxing because it can spread.
Even so there's so many. Even there's contraindications where maybe the skin doesn't lift, but like you could have a negative consequence. So like rosacea, if you're doing a facial wax, right? Like you can still wax them, but it could cause flare up. You could break capillaries. And I'm trying to think what else. I mean, there's so many. Like you could go, like we have a form like that we could send if people want it that goes through most of the contraindications to waxing. But I have something that I want to talk about with contraindications. I have I have included a new contraindication that no educator that I know of has added, and no brand that I know of has added. And I haven't technically added it as a brand, but I'm adding it in my personal life because there's something new happening on the market that is changing everything. So the new contraindication is the natural deodorant.
I didn't think about that.
It happened to me years ago. This has been years ago, when it was before like the natural deodorants were like super popular on the market.
Yeah.
And one of my clients was DIYing it at home. And I gave her an underarm wax and her skin lifted. And I'm like, how does skin lift on the underarm? Like, nobody's using
I
retinol
haven't
or
done
like,
that. Yeah.
I mean, certainly there's like body washes that have like glycolic or
Yeah.
salicylic, or like some people use a lightener like under their arm or like their bikini area or something, and that would be a contraindication. But really, I just couldn't figure it out.
So the
So then,
essential oils, what was it?
no. So do you know that the main ingredient in almost every natural deodorant,
What is it?
it's either sodium bicarbonate or lactic acid. So most of them are sodium bicarbonate, which is, even though not technically like, I mean, sodium bicarbonate is what we use to neutralize a chemical peel. So
Right.
it's like literally like baking soda. It's really high
Right.
on the pH scale, and it is very exfoliating.
So because it's very exfoliating, it's taking off skin as well as possibly wax. So it's lifting.
Yeah. And so yeah, it's making the skin too thin to tolerate the waxing. People know, because people that use the natural deodorant, they're using it because they're trying to avoid the metals in regular
Aluminum.
deodorant. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
the aluminum. And so they're trying to do something healthier. That's fine, but they just have to discontinue it several days before. But people that use it every single day, they'll even say that their skin starts getting raw and irritated, so they have to skip a day or two because it's exfoliating their underarm.
Oh, wow.
But the key point
I
is
didn't even think about that.
I know. But here's the key point. There is a brand on the market that has very, very cute, catchy marketing. It's a natural deodorant, but it's designed for the whole body. Have you seen it? Do you know what I'm talking
No,
about?
I haven't.
Okay, I'll just say it. This is not this is not an ad, but it's the Lumi product. It's like, have you heard of Lumi?
Uh-huh.
So they've got the natural deodorant for like the intimate area between your
Yeah.
between like your butt cheeks and like your underarms, like they have it for your whole body so that you're not
So
like
if
sweating.
someone's using that, you have to kind of be cautious.
Yes. So like they could be using it
Yikes.
like between their butt cheeks, they could be using it on their underarms. And
Inner
if you're
thighs. Yeah.
So that's my new contraindication.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I didn't
So
even
now we
think
can be
about
more
that.
safe and make sure add it to your contraindication
List.
list.
Oh man, I mean, really didn't even think about that.
I know it's a big one,
It's
but
a
I
very
think
good
those are the
one.
main
Good
ones.
job.
Even for me, I even add like vitamin C serum. I even add benzoyl peroxide because I've had issues with those.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else. But yeah, we
Any
can send you a full
compromised
list.
skin.
Yeah,
Any
any
skin that's
compromised.
sunburns, eczema, any kind of
Yeah,
rash, irritation, contraindication for sure.
hmm exactly. Sometimes when we talk about lifted skin, is it different than like a histamine reaction?
It
Because I
is
think that,
different.
yeah, why?
Do
How?
you think? I feel like so the histamine reactions are always obviously going to come from more of an allergic reaction, where the skin lifting is
Yeah.
pretty much self-explanatory. Skin lifting.
hmm
My experience, most histamine reactions tend to welt or form a whitehead or any kind of bump or pimple. It can be itchy, it can be tingly, it can be pink or red. Skin lifting is exactly what it is. It's shiny
hmm
underneath after it's been lifted. It can turn a little pink or red. It can burn a little bit.
hmm
Um, so I feel like they are different to the eye. You can
You know
normally
what?
tell a difference.
And I think what's interesting, I've had clients where I know I've lifted their skin. I've given them the whole, okay, it's going to feel sensitive. It might feel sunburn. But when they would come back, or sometimes I'll check in with them a couple days later, like, hey, how is your skin? Is everything great? And sometimes they have nothing. Like, I think
Oh,
sometimes it's so superficial that they're like, I didn't even notice it burning. It did nothing.
love
It was
that.
fine. Yeah.
Love that.
So you just
But it's
never
good to
know.
communicate. Very good to
Yeah.
communicate with them. So they're
I
not
have a
surprised at home if something does happen.
Exactly. Like I have a younger client in her teens, like she's a teenager, and
Mhm.
like teenage skin is just so fragile. It's just
It
so
really
youthful.
is.
I learned this week. I love learning something new about the skin because it's exciting to me. But you know how our cells turn over every 28 days, right? And then as you get older, it will slow
I was
down,
about to say, for me,
unfortunately.
not 28 days anymore, but
Yeah, like it gets to be like 35
I
eventually.
know.
28 to 35 days, and then like
Yeah.
as you get older it goes even
Moving to
slower.
40.
Yeah, which is why we
Anyways,
need
but when you're
exfoliation.
younger, yeah.
But I learned that when you're a teenager, it's 2 weeks. And that's crazy. It's
Disgusting.
like no wonder their skin is like so it's
Plump.
literally always brand new.
Just
Yeah, and they have all that
filled with
collagen.
collagen. I know. As I'm noticing my jowls are sagging. Yeah.
I mean, it's good. It's better than the alternative of, whatever. But I think um that sometimes that type of skin, when it's so fresh and new, like younger people, there's been a couple times where I thought I lifted their skin, but I didn't. Like it's
Their
a
skins
weird.
just glow.
Yeah, it's like yeah,
It
it's
just
so
has an
close.
instant glow all the
I know.
time.
I know. It's
Uh,
adorable. Isn't it adorable?
I miss it. Yeah, I
Okay,
miss
I
it.
want to talk about something.
What's that?
One more thing. Okay, what time is it? Okay, we're still good. We have a few more minutes. So this is a little bit this might be weird, but this
I
happened.
like
So
weird and waxing because it probably has happened. Yeah,
because it's going to happen to somebody and we need to
it
talk about
will.
it because no one's going to talk about this. So this is why. So the thinnest skin on the body is going to be the eyelid
Yes.
and the labia for like
Yes.
for females. So
Yes.
that is why I'm a huge advocate for hard wax for Brazilians, because you
Always.
could easily lift the skin also when you're doing a Brazilian. It's the only
Yes.
two places that really I've lifted skin. The one time on the underarm and then the labia and the eyebrows. And you do not want to lift skin on someone's labia. I'll tell you that right now.
No,
That
they're
is
probably not
like,
coming back.
they're
Yeah,
never
that
coming back.
they're not coming back to you. Sorry. But that's pretty irritating just to sit down, put on clothes, go
They're going to
white,
be in,
using the
sorry.
restroom. There's a lot of things.
Yeah, because when they have to go to the bathroom, what's going to happen?
It's
It's going to
yeah,
burn. Yeah, it's
yeah,
uncomfortable. So
yeah.
how do they prevent that from happening to when they're waxing someone?
So you're going to use hard wax, of course,
For
is
sure.
number one. I prefer crystalline for hypoallergenic, but you have to prep with Cerapill cleanser and then Cerapill depilatory oil. So it's going to
For me, it's the
yeah,
oil.
you have to do the oil.
The oil
Always,
is
anywhere.
literally, yeah. And I feel like also the same thing when you do like a male Brazilian. Oh my
Mm.
God. Do you do male Brazilians?
I don't anymore.
But you used to.
Yeah, I used to. I don't have to do that anymore because when you're fresh in business, you just do whatever. I don't have to do that anymore.
You've decided what you want, don't want.
Yeah.
Well, but
But you
I'll
have
tell
to
you,
oil a man up really well. That's
that's what
it.
I was just going to
But
say. That's another
lots of
area
oil.
that will lift
Lift.
so easily the testicle area. Okay, so this is what I always say about our pre and post depilatory oil. I always say only use one drop, really. Like it goes a long way, and then blot it really well, almost like wipe it off, because if you don't, like you've used too much, the wax won't
Yeah.
adhere and then the hair won't be removed. I always say, except for the testicles, like
Yep.
just keep reapplying.
Just load them up.
Because if not, like, have you ever lifted skin on a testicle?
No, but I haven't
I
done a
have.
thousand of them like I have a woman's intimate area. But
Oh my God,
I
true.
have not done men's intimate for very long. So,
I will say though, I think I've estimated, I don't know the exact number. I did about 400 Brazilians every month for a million years.
yeah.
I estimated like I really have done like almost probably hundreds of thousands of Brazilian waxes in my life. Like literally that's how old I am. But I will say that I've really, knock on wood, I've only lifted skin on the labia just a couple of times. And
Mhm.
you know what it was one time? This is a key
What?
point for people. going back to the medication, she was, this is so unique. It's not on any contraindication form. She was going through in vitro fertilization, and she was
Oh,
using, I know, she,
hormones.
like usually they use like hormones, like I haven't gone through that, so I don't know the process. If you guys are listening and I'm explaining it wrong, forgive me. I'm trying to just remember, but I know from what I understand, they do injections, like hormone injections. But she had like some type of like hormone, like insert that she had to do, and I don't know what was in it, but it must have just like thinned her skin a bit.
I would have never thought of that either. Poor
I
thing.
know. I know. On top of going through in vitro, now her skin is lifted off the labia. Like that.
Yikes.
Not what you want.
Not what
Anyway,
you
so
want.
don't do that. But I
No,
think
don't
like
do that. But
it's
if you
not
use
common.
the oil, Terapil's depilatory oil, it
Hmm.
creates that barrier. So you're most likely really not going to lift. I don't lift with the oil. I don't
I
lift
will say
skin with the oil.
most of the time, like when I hear comments and questions about, oh my God, my client's skin lifted, like why did it happen? What do I do different? Like whatever. Almost always I say, did you use strip wax? And they say
Yeah.
yes. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with strip wax. I love strip wax, but like there's a like not for sensitive smaller areas like the eyebrow, bikini,
Right.
Brazilian underarm. Like for me, I'm just like, why? Like it's more usually more comfortable anyway for hard wax, but
I think maybe that's how they were trained.
I'm
But
sure.
you
Yeah.
can train it, you can train them, teach them
Yeah,
hormones.
totally. Oh my
Train
God,
some,
totally.
yeah, over there while you're
I,
home.
I, I had someone argue with me the other day, not argue with me, but made the
Argue.
not argue, but made the argument that and I agree. After they explained it, I did agree. Like she felt like she was a lover of strip wax on the face. She uses our Cerapill Ease as a brand. We don't love strip wax on the face. We feel like it's a bit aggressive. But she was saying that if you are excellent and very skilled at using wax, it will be virtually pain free for the client, whether you are using strip wax or hard wax. She said, if you don't know how to use hard wax, it can be painful. If you don't know how to use strip wax, it could be painful. And I thought that was a really interesting argument.
It is an interesting argument. I do agree with if you use them wrong, either wax, it can be painful.
I agree.
Yeah, that's a good
Because
point.
because even hard
You
wax,
can
like,
pull wrong. You can
or even
apply
a lot of
wrong
times they do that flicking and like, or
at the
like
end.
so I do so many classes and like everyone's just learning, so I'm definitely not poking fun at anyone who's learning. But so, like I had a girl in the class who was nervous to remove it, so instead of like just taking the wax and like quickly removing the wax in the opposite direction, staying close to the skin, she very slowly like peeled it back because she was scared. And I'm just like,
The poor model.
and this is not a question that anyone sent us. This is something I saw. I love going on social media and looking at other people's waxing pages because I feel like
That's
I
all I do.
always it's all I do too.
I like to see what people are doing or picking up new tips or
I swear to God, you've been an educator for almost 20 years, as have I, and we've both been waxing a really long time. And I always take classes. Like I feel like I want to always be like cutting edge no matter even if I'm 75 years old. I want to know
yes.
everything that's happening current time.
Yes.
And so I feel like it's fun and exciting. But what I love, and this is so cliche. This is the most cliche thing I'm going to ever say, but like you always learn something.
You do.
Always. Even when I teach a class, I learn something. You always
From
learn
somebody
something
else. Yeah.
from somebody else, something like
Don't know
random.
everything. Yeah, you have to always be open to learning.
Right. So I am a huge advocate of like when you're doing body wax, like full body waxing, to have a plan. Like I have a very like in our classes, but even in my head, like I have a very clear mapped out plan of like how to approach like a full leg wax or an arm wax. Like there has to be a strategic way so that when you have the client, you know exactly what you're going to do. Like you can't just be like, winging it. Like you have to
Right.
know where each piece is going to go next.
Right.
Okay, so I have this in my head for like example, full leg wax. So I know how I always have done a full leg wax. So I hop on this girl's Instagram page the other day and she shows me, or not me, everyone, but a new position that she thinks is ideal to do the back of the upper leg, right? So the
Okay.
upper leg, but the back. So she had the client was laying on her back in
Okay.
baby pose, which if you guys know, that means both legs pulled to the chest,
Like when
holding
you're
under
changing
the
a baby's
knees.
diaper,
Right. And
the
so
legs are
like,
up and back.
right. So the
Did
client
she
might
have
be
underwear
holding
on?
behind their knees.
She have
Yeah,
shorts on?
she was dressed because she was just getting she wasn't
Lower
getting a
leg.
Brazilian or a bikini. She was just getting her
Lower
upper
leg.
leg.
Upper leg.
leg. Imagine the client's on their back. The client is in baby pose, holding their legs behind the knee. Now, the esthetician says the skin is so tight and taut and the area is perfectly there that she puts 2 large hard wax pieces on each upper leg and it's done.
Some of my clients can't even go into baby pose, so I wonder what she does.
In that situation, well, then she probably does it the traditional way. Because when I do the
Laying
back of
on
the
your
leg,
tummy, legs
yeah, they're laying
out.
on their stomach, and then you just do the back of the leg. Why would it be faster in baby pose? Because the skin's tighter. She's saying, is it faster?
The skin is taut. I don't think it would be faster.
I know
I don't
because
think
then
there's a right or a wrong. I think maybe she did it for the gram. Maybe she did it
maybe
for us to
because
talk about.
well, yeah, now we're talking about it. Because now what I'm thinking about is like if you're gonna do the back of the leg. But in baby pose, can you get a long enough piece? Because I don't want to go back and do another piece
That's
because
what I
that
was.
right, the
Well, that's what I
piece
was
close to
wondering.
the
Like, does she
knee.
have clothes on? Or,
No,
I had so many questions because I'm trying to visualize it in my head.
she just had like underwear on
Okay, yeah. That's also a weird position too if you're not getting a
to be in your
Brazilian
underwear for the leg wax.
or the
Yeah,
leg
true.
wax.
So you just have them on their stomach and just do the back
Yeah,
same.
traditional.
And also the back of the leg, a lot of times the hair is growing inward. So when you
Yes.
do that straight piece down, sometimes there might be hair left behind.
Yeah.
Well, this was a lot of good information. I feel like we could have talked for like
I feel
another
like we were
3
very
hours.
informative this one.
I
So we had a
hope
lot of
the
information.
listeners find it informative.
Take
You guys should
notes.
tell us if you found it informative and what else you want us to talk about.
And
I
more
love their
questions.
ideas. Yeah, we want more questions. They gave us a good amount from part 1.
Good.
Because maybe we can keep doing this.
Part 3.
Yeah, coffee with Jamie, or like what could we call it? We'll have to come
so
up with
hot
a
topics, but martinis
Jamie
with
Playa.
Jamie? So much better.
Martinis. Oh, we could have
So
cocktail
much better than
hour.
coffee. Champagne with Jamie?
My daughter's been making mocktails at home
With her plump skin?
with her plump skin.
Poor thing.
Poor thing. Yeah, she's been making like a mojito. It's a virgin.
Aw.
It's actually very good.
I actually love that.
I do too. It's so delicious.
Yeah,
So-
but it is.
Anyway, on that note, it's been a pleasure as always.
Always.
You have so much knowledge, and we're just so grateful that because I know you're very busy. I'm so grateful that you took your time out for us, and I'm sure we'll do it again. I think we'll
We'll have to do it again. Why not?
Yeah, we'll see if we get
More
some
information.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More information out there. Grab a cocktail. have some
Yeah, and you're going to be
laughs.
in Chicago soon.
I'll be there soon.
So I'm excited. Jamie's coming to Chicago. We have a huge class. We're going to teach some teachers. It's going to be a train the trainer. And
Fun.
so that's going to be fun. So anyway, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. Tell everyone where they can find you if they want to like.
Esthetique Facial Spa, eFacial Spa is our website. We're also on Instagram and Facebook.
Awesome. Do you have a personal Instagram or no?
I don't. We use,
I know, it's
work
weird.
has everything. Work Instagram has everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah, all the
Okay,
videos you
cool.
want.
And yeah, and also we will put in the show notes, we'll put the link to your website and to your Instagram. So if somebody wants to like come to your salon, even like if
Yeah,
they're in
check us
because
out.
you're like right outside of New Orleans, right?
I'm in New Orleans, yeah, so you can come get a wax.
I
No
need to come
skin
get a wax.
lifted. Yeah,
Yeah, no
I can
skin.
wax you in Chicago.
I love that. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I'm
Thanks,
sure we'll talk to
Carrie.
you again.
Okay, take care.
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. And be sure to sign up for our newsletters on our own website, sierrapill.com. Remember, it's more than just talk about waxing. We're here for you. You are not alone. And as a thank you for listening, be sure to use our promo code PR Podcast 30. It's in all caps when you shop at sierrapill.com. Additional terms and conditions may apply.